The ball is back, but so is the confusion. This franchise does not try to answer any questions. It feels like they're just purposely trying to raise questions without answering anything. It's just like, you come up, it's like a build your own story, like what they call is like build your own adventure stories. Like, that's what this is. You can come up with your own explanations. It's all a dream, it's not a dream, or it's a dream within a dream. Is this Inception? I don't know what's going on. I think it's just more for visual sake and atmosphere. That's what they're going for, mostly. Because the writing makes no sense. The first one's a dream. No, now it's real, but it wasn't a dream. It is, but this is a dream now. Like, all these movies. I've heard that 3, 4, and 5. I haven't seen them yet as of this recording. I've heard it's the same thing again and again. So, I'm not going to talk about it too much. I'm not going to go any further into it. It's just confusing. That's how I feel about it. I'm just going to leave it at that. So, yeah, still confusing. Phantasm 2. This came out in 1988. It's got a low Rotten Tomato score of 38%, but 6.1 IMDb, or 6.5. So, decent. So, this movie has been praised as the best of the franchise. It's always the sequel that people point towards out of this franchise as the best one. It's been ramped up before I watched it, so I kind of have my expectations a little bit higher, not too high. And I came out with, it was fun. I honestly don't know where I would put this with part 1. Is it below? Is it above? This one takes like the alien approach. It ramps things up. It ramps up the action towards the end. It ramps up, the budget. I mean, this one had a bigger budget, like 10 times bigger, but still like the smallest budget that Universal Studios ever gave a film in the 80s. This one was bought by Universal. They wanted to make another horror franchise. Right after this, they bought Chucky. And they told Don Coscarelli that he couldn't bring back the cast from the first one, but he fought and he got Reggie back. So thank God, because Reggie is one of the better characters in this movie. He's the one that shines the brightest. He steals the show. I think he's like the face of this franchise. And he quit acting after the first one, and he was working at a funeral home, which I found kind of funny. Just a couple of interesting facts I want to point out. Just people within the film that really aren't credited, especially this one, Lori Loughlin, who's going through like a current like scandal, college scam or whatnot. She plays young Mike in the opening because they couldn't bring back the actor, because Universal, I guess. So they brought Lori Loughlin to play Mike in the opening, but they do like camera tricks where you can't see her face and tell that's a woman. So I thought that was interesting. And Ed Gale, the little dwarf actor who plays Chucky in all of them, I believe, every single Child's Play, when they're not doing animatronics and they're actually using a little person, Ed Gale, he's in this movie playing the dwarfs. And I thought it was interesting that in this one, I was talking about how they ramp up the action, they ramp up this, ramp up that. They also ramp up the amount of like dwarves that you see, the ones that attack. They have faces now that are all like crunched and like nasty and witch looking. You got more spheres that are attacking. So yeah, this one just ramps it up. So let's, I guess, just get into the positives, since it sounds like I'm already there. I like that this one ramps things up. I like that it's more bigger in scope and feel, and I like the continuity. I like the cast continuity, where they are allowed to have cast continuity. Like I said, they didn't want both of the actors back. They wanted seasoned actors or familiar faces. So they told Don Coscarelli, hey, you gotta get rid of one, Reggie or Mike, and he got rid of Mike and he kept Reggie. Good decision. Hindsight, I think, was the right choice. I heard that the actor Baldwin, who plays Mike in the first one, I heard he comes back in like 3 or 4. So I'm curious to see how his acting is in that one, because I wasn't a big fan of his acting as a kid in the first one. I felt it was a little weak. So I'm curious if his acting has improved. Speaking of which, I feel like the acting in this movie is slightly improved than the first one. The budget's bigger, so this one feels bigger. I like that. I like the whole road trip plot. They're just on they got this revenge plot to go kill the tall man. They're not victims running away the whole time like in the first one. It just completely changes it. They're on a road trip to go get the tall man. I like that. It's kind of like Child's Play 2, where Andy's not running away from Chucky the whole movie. He's like wanting to go kick Chucky's ass in the basement. They kind of do that. Which came out 2 years after this. So I like that. Just like I like going with the continuity. I like, besides the cast, the other thing, just like the first one, that's continued is the tone and feel and look of the movie. The cinematography is a little bit better in the first one. I felt like things were a little too dark, hard to see. The cinematography is better in this one, and there's better visuals, and the same score is brought from the first one. They update it, they don't just copy and paste it, they update it to make it more modern at the time, they expand on it, and I like the score for this film. It just is beautiful. I love that there's more spheres. I like that they add little gadgets to them, they upgrade them, they make them badass. You got like the Rambo one, that's what they called it behind the scenes, that has like the red skin, it can blow a rat up, all kinds of, just like I said, they just ramp everything up. Dial everything to 11. They just go for broke. You got chainsaw battles and just all kinds of awesome stuff in the third act, especially. I think the third act in this movie is way better than the first movie's third act, where it's just this convenient boulder shit going down a hill. In this one, you got chainsaw battles, people getting kicked into crematoriums, and just the tall man melting and stuff, all kinds of good effects. Just like in the first one with the whole ball sucking a guy's brain out. In this one, we get even more cool effects, and that's thanks to K&B before they became K&B. You had Mark Shostrom, I think that's how you say his name. He was doing the special effects, but the people who were freelancing with him were Greg Nicotero, Robert Kurtzman, Howard Burr. The people who would become K&B, like not even a year later, were working on this movie. And it doesn't surprise you when you hear that, when you look at this movie and you see all those great effects, the thing coming out of the back, it kind of looks like The Worm and like Dream Warriors, Freddy, kind of reminiscent of that, but on a smaller scale. And then you got the tall man melting away, just yellow ooze and acid just pouring through his veins. It looks great. And that's all thanks to K&B. And my favorite character in the movie, I already said before, Reggie, he is honestly the thing that is just the best. He steals the show. He really shines in this movie. His character is a lot more entertaining. In the first one, he doesn't really do much. He's just this weird ice cream truck driver who plays guitar and then just quickly, for some reason, finds out how to stop that one thing. Like, I found it odd in this movie, they find those two poles, and he doesn't do that trick. So I guess he wasn't informed by Mike. Like, hey, in my dream, you knew how to stop the thing. I guess it's all bullshit. That's not how you stop him no more. But I don't know. It's just another question among thousands of questions that I have. But Reggie, he's the best character. I love that they gave him a little love interest in this movie. That it's a stretch that she would be into him. But then the reveal later on, I guess it makes sense. But I just like that dynamic between them, their chemistry. It's just wacky and fun, and it just goes with the tone of the movie. It's a horror comedy. Now going into the things I don't like. The same damn ending. All right, it's a spoiler, I guess, but it's basically the same ending. I don't care for it. It just leaves more questions and no answers at all. No breadcrumbs where you can start to pick things up and piece them together to make a cohesive story. Be like, okay, so this happened, so therefore this happened. No, it's just like, I don't know. Fuck it. Nothing happened or everything happened. I don't know. So it's just still confusing. The first 2/3 of this movie, honestly, weren't that great. It wasn't really boring, but I was just kind of like, okay, like, that's kind of interesting. There's some cool visuals, a couple of neat little scares here and there, like the corpse on the bed with the old woman in the door through the peephole. Just little things like that sprinkled throughout that kind of kept me interested. But overall, it's not nearly as action-packed as you might think from what people have probably told you, that this is like the bigger, badder one. And while that's true to an extent, it's nowhere near as like explosive or, blood, like a big bloodbath or anything like that. There's hardly any blood. The MPAA had their way with this movie. They saw the first one. They're like, they got away with too much, so I'm going to ruin the fun and fuck up the second one. I don't know what the hell is wrong with those people, but I hope they're all dead. And I mean it. Fuck those people. I'm just joking. No, but seriously, like, what person has that mindset? Like, oh, that movie got away with X, so I'm going to fuck up this movie because I'm angry that that movie was able to do that. Like, that was their mindset. Like, according to the people who made this movie, that was what they said. It's the same thing with Friday the 13th, part 1 and 2. When it got to 2, they looked at 1 and they're like, well, because you got away with that, we're going to strip all this out. Why? It's just so stupid. I can't stand the MPAA. I'm so glad that we're past that era. We can actually see blood in movies now. Like, what changed? Like, why is it okay now? That's a whole different discussion, but seriously, it's just fucking annoying. And you can tell. When you're watching this movie, you can tell it was stripped down some and frames were cut out. Like, the ball in the head thing, it's nowhere near as blood-filled and just a fountain like the first one. You see, like, a few frames, and it cuts away, then it cuts back, he's on the ground dead in a pool of blood. You don't actually get to see all the shit, like, flying out of his head. It's, like, very quick, blink and you miss it. It's just annoying. It's bullshit. But yet, you can see the tall man melt away because it's not real blood, it's yellow blood, so therefore you can kind of like tweak the rules and be like, well, this is yellow, so we can get away with it. Their rules and their like reasoning behind shit, the MPAA, makes no sense and they never will. They're just fucking stupid. And I'm glad we're past that era. But it's a shame because they permanently fucked up every movie you ever loved growing up. So, or, you know, if you didn't grow up in that era, the movies that you look back on and watch for the first time and love. You know, those movies that you love, they're still stained by the MPAA. They fucking had their way with all those movies, including this one, and they don't pay the price, we do. So fuck them. Now that we're past that rant, and you're going to get more of those rants when I go into my Friday the 13th franchise review series this summer. So I'll save all my thoughts on them for there, even though I kind of told you everything. But yeah, there will be more rants about the MPAA later on. This one has less tall man than the first one, which was surprising. There was way less tall man. And still confusing, I already talked about that. The characters in this movie, outside of Reggie, just there's no interesting chemistry between this main guy and this other girl who he's like telepathic with. And there's not much of an explanation about why they're telepathic. They're just special, I guess. But their love interest, Mike and that girl especially, who is she? It's just, there's no development there. There's no depth to these characters. I don't give a shit about this girl. Don't even know her name. Elizabeth. Yeah, there we go. So it's just, the characters are very weak, especially Mike, this new actor who plays him. Just their character depth, it's just non-existent. They're just one note the entire time, like, let's go kill the tall man, and that's it. So they could have worked with the characters a lot better. I feel like the writing there should have been touched on some more, so that I actually give a shit. The only reason why I like Reggie, there's not much to his character either. He has a very quick growth at the beginning from like, I don't believe you, to, okay, I believe you because of this, and then that's it. It's just very quick. Not much growth to these characters, not much interesting facts about them. There's not much going on between these people. They just want to kill the tall man. So, moving past that, final thoughts. I think this is a slightly better sequel. Maybe in some aspects it's a little bit better. It has the same look and feel and tone of the first one, so I can't see you not liking this movie. If you like the first one, I think you would enjoy this one. This movie doesn't really expand anything. It doesn't expand the lore of the tall man. It just kind of just does the same thing, but in a little bit of a more grand fashion. It's more fun, especially in the third act. So when it comes to Phantasm 2, I would recommend streaming it, borrowing it from a friend, or renting it at Redbox. The hottest chick in this movie is Jerry, the main girl Elizabeth's friend, who we see for like 3 seconds. And the clap reward for best scene will be Reggie in the basement of the morgue towards the end when he has the chainsaw battle and he's shooting the dwarves with his quadruple barrel shotgun. Now let's quickly go through my spoiler section. Let's talk about this movie. So we pick up right after the first one where we see Reggie and Mike in front of the fire, and then he goes upstairs, gets attacked. Reggie hears the commotion, goes up, tries to check it out. I like how he puts his guitar in front of the fire, and then when he goes back downstairs, the guitar is missing. There's the mystery of the movie. But then in the other shot, the guitar is back. So we got a magical guitar in here. So Reggie, he blows up the house. He's being attacked by, like, all the dwarves, and then he turns on the gas, blows up the house, and then it flashes forward, like, 8 years later. Mike, he's in an insane asylum, like, mental institution, and he convinces the people that work there that he's all better now. He doesn't believe those stories no more, but he still does. He's just pretending. And he talks to Reggie, and Reggie's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Those were just stupid dreams. I never blew up my house. And then they're on their way to his house that isn't blown up, and it blows up. So the whole opening is a dream sequence, just like the whole first movie was a dream sequence. So it went from dream, the whole movie in the first one, to another dream at the very end. And now this is real life, but then at the very end of this movie, everything's a dream again. So it's just, yeah. Good luck trying to piece it all together. I would be interested in anyone actually commenting a cohesive, coherent narrative of this franchise to actually explain it and make sense. Go right ahead. Do your best. Good luck. So, yeah, the house blows up and it kills Reggie's entire family. They're all gone. Boom. So he's like, all right, I believe you now. So let's go. They break into the gun store / department store. And it looks like they're stealing all this shit, but they actually leave money. So they're good people. And all of a sudden, he went from like ice cream truck driver to mechanical like engineer. Like he knows how to like use a welding kit. Like he just knows how to build a quadruple shotgun. And Mike, he knows how to like build a fucking flamethrower out of like these little tanks and whatnot. Like, okay. I mean, he was fixing cars in the other one, so maybe it makes sense that he would know how to build those stuff, but that's just a little nitpick. That's nothing cool, but major wrong with the film. But here's the thing about that shotgun. It's cool, but he uses it once. Towards the end of the movie, he has 4 doors, and he takes his shotgun, blows them all away, and then he's like, all right, I'm out of ammo. Poof, throws it away. Like, really? That's it? That's it? That was a big letdown. It's like, you build that up, and you have that awesome, like, building montage, and then towards the end of the movie, like, way later after he builds it, we finally see him use it, and that's it? That's just blue balls right there. I like the visual of like all the empty graves, but what doesn't make sense, thinking about it logically, is where's the dirt? If somebody was digging all those graves, there would be dirt piles next to every single one of them, but there's not. So where the hell did the dirt go? That's another mystery that I want solved. And then we see like the naked corpse on the thing, and it disappears. Dun dun dun. And then the spine monster, that neat effect, the freaking like Freddy worm coming out of that chick's back, giving them directions, I guess, like go east. That's how they know where to go.
You play a good game, boy. Come east if you dare.
This whole telepathic thing makes no sense. Like, if they're telepathic and they can talk to each other, she seems to know him despite the fact that they've never really met before, but yet when they meet up physically later on, they start making out like they've known each other. We have no idea what these people's history is, but they just start making out right away. Like, the writing of these characters, it's not that good. So if they're telepathic, why couldn't she just tell him how to find her? Like, this movie makes it seem like they've been traveling down the road for months, because Reggie says, like, do you have any idea how long it's been since, like, we've been with a girl? Like, it's been a long time. I need to have sex, and that's why they pick up the hitchhiker. So it makes it seem like they've been traveling and traveling, going nowhere. They're just like, where's the tall man? And it would have been a lot simpler had Elizabeth used her telepathic powers to, like, be given directions to Mike, but whatever. So we get this 3 people funeral. This is funeral and only 3 people are at it. So I guess this guy didn't have a lot of family members. Maybe the tall man killed them all, and these are the only people that are left. And then the priest, he just starts stabbing the corpse in the casket because he thinks that will stop the tall man from collecting slaves. And the tall man says something like, when you die, you don't go to heaven, you come to us. Does that mean he's like sucking the souls out of heaven and hell and like dragging them back to earth to be in the like, they're digging up bodies out of the ground and then making them slaves? Is that person's soul coming back too? Like, how is that possible? I don't know. That doesn't make sense. I thought he had to like I don't know. Whatever. I'm not even gonna go there. So yeah, you can't make sense of this. So the tall man, they got like this little callback line, like the funeral is about to begin, ma'am, something like that. And so we got little callbacks here and there, and you got the sphere that comes, and well, that's much later on. But the only expansion of the tall man lore in this is the gravers. So he's not getting all the bodies out of the ground himself. He has these special, the crazies looking, My Bloody Valentine looking people, like in these mine outfits, digging up dirt and getting the bodies for him. Why they have to wear those masks is never explained at all. It's just whatever. So that's like the only expansion of this lore, is that he has these other people that do some of his dirty work, and he's got these 2 people that work at the morgue that are just mindless zombies, I guess. They don't speak. They don't have any speaking roles. Maybe they were bad actors. And so the tall man, he still has the yellow blood. The one chick, Elizabeth, she stabs him with like her funeral pin, this big old needle, and then like hours later, like a whole day later, the tall man sticks that pin on her like nightstand, and it's still got like a puddle of like yellow blood around it, and it's like dripping. How is it still dripping with his blood after like being stabbed way long before that? Like he's constantly pumping blood out. I don't know that. Just a little nitpick. Couldn't help but mention it. Another thing I can't help but nitpick and talk about is the fact that they're driving on this, they're going on this road trip with a loud muffler sports car, and they're like coasting through like the cemetery as the gravers are in the distance, and they're like trying to sneak around in this loud ass sports car. Am I supposed to believe that the gravers didn't hear them pulling up in that car? Bullshit. That muffler would be heard in Alaska. They hear that shit. Then they start setting up these Home Alone traps. They finally reunite with Elizabeth. They shack up in this place, and they set up a grenade trap, which is very dangerous. And then that grenade trap goes off while Reggie's having that hilarious sex scene. So the grenade goes off. He goes downstairs, and she's like not even like worried about a grenade explosion going off. He just goes downstairs, and a cat somehow opened up the window. That's what we're led to believe. Just like all these blood and guts on the wall. He's like, oh, a cat must have came in through the window. But the window was shut, right? So this cat just had the ability to lift the window up? That makes no sense. And it blows up. What a crazy trap. Like, they set that trap up, and then they're like in the living room talking. Well, if that trap went off, they'd be dead. So then we get this like car flip scene, and I must have missed something, because when the car flips and Reggie's still in it, Mike somehow got thrown out. Was he thrown out? I don't remember seeing that, so I would have to go back and watch that again. Like, he gets thrown out once again, just like in the first movie when he like dolphin dives out of the back. He's completely unhurt, unscathed, no bumps, no bruises, no limp in his walk. He's fine. Mike's a badass. He's a stunt man. And we get a little Sam Raimi reference. The ash bag, Ash Williams. It just says Sam Raimi's ashes on it because Sam Raimi went to the set. Apparently one day he wanted a cameo, and that was the best they could do for him, was put his name in it. And what else? They're cremating caskets. Do people do this? Because now this is 2 movies that I've seen this in. Killer Party and now this, where they throw a actual expensive ass casket into the crematorium to get cremated. Nobody does that, right? Can somebody correct me? Is there a mortician watching this who cremates bodies? I'm pretty damn sure they don't just cremate caskets. What the fuck was going on in that scene? He just throws an entire casket into the oven. And then he tries to throw Elizabeth into the oven, and she rolls off because she wasn't properly like hogtied or anything. And then she kicks the guy in the balls, throws him onto the thing, pushes him. And he has like a whole 3-4 seconds to like roll off, but he just sits there and screams like a little girl and gets thrown into the crematorium. Just another little nitpick I have is like, really, he couldn't roll off like she did? Whatever. So then they contaminate the embalming fluid or whatever it is. I guess it's like the special tall man juice to make you his slave. They contaminate it with like acid, and that comes into play later on. Then we get the sphere attack / like the crucifix necklace thing. I like that it actually snaps under his weight, because I was going to complain about that if it didn't. He's like getting hung by the necklace, and it breaks under his weight, and then the thing comes, sucks his brains out, and then the other one attacks the mortician. It goes in his back, and then it goes in his chest, up his throat, out his mouth. It's a cool little visual. And then we get this chainsaw battle. The guy gets, Reggie revs up his chainsaw, like, come on, mother, which is a throwback line kind of to the first movie where I think it was Mike. I think it was either Mike or Jody who was like, there's nobody driving that mother. For some reason, they don't like to say fuck, especially in the first one. They say fuck a lot in this one, but not in the first one. So, and then the other guy pulls his chainsaw out. It's like 6 feet long. He's like, mine's bigger. And then by the end of that battle, Reggie chainsaws that guy's dick. So a lot of phallic things, like he's got a bigger dick, a bigger chainsaw, but the little dick / little chainsaw wins in the end. He chainsaws the guy's dick right off. But there's no blood, of course, because I'm sure the MPAA cut that out. And then we get the one use of that shotgun when he blasts those 4 dwarfs away. And then we get the portal once again, except this time the entryway isn't like in the sky, because in the first one when Mike goes in it, he's like falling, and like the entryway is like all the way in the sky, and you have to like fall for like a mile before you hit the ground. And this one, when they go into the portal, they're automatically on ground level, and just there's all these rocks, and then you got, you know, the Ed Gale dwarf coming out of the bucket. And once again, the big old bright white room has all these black buckets that are ready to go, but why aren't they in the portal? Why wouldn't they just push that in there if they're ready to go? Why not? It just makes no sense. And then there's this typical jump scare involving a character in the movie who we're following scaring another character, where they sneak up on them, hand on the shoulder, like, hey, I snuck up on you because I'm a dick. Like, I could have said hey or hello when I was like all the way back there on my way to you guys, who for some reason didn't hear my footsteps walking towards you in this loud, empty mortuary or whatever. Like, you in a funeral home with that type of floor, your footsteps would echo off the walls. You would hear people walking from a mile, but Reggie just sneaks up on Mike, hand on shoulder, jump scare. Fucking can't stand that stuff. And I point it out every time, and I will always point it out because it's annoying, and Hollywood needs to stop doing that shit. So then they use the sphere on the tall man, but it has no effect on him. I'm surprised it attacked him. I thought they were like his attack dogs, and they were loyal. I guess these spheres aren't loyal. They don't have like a face scan where they're like, oh, that's a tall man, I can't attack him. Nope, they attack him. But it doesn't kill him, of course. Nothing can kill him. But then they put like the embalming thing in the back of his neck, and he starts melting away. Awesome effect. And then Kimmy, she pulls up in the funeral car to pick them up. Perfect timing. And then it's revealed that she's this movie's lady in lavender. She's been the tall man the whole time, which I saw coming. I thought that reveal was going to be a lot earlier on. I thought that reveal was going to come during the sex scene because of how crazy she was acting. But yeah. That's one thing that's not really carried over from the first one, is that the tall man's not fucking his victims no more. I mean, he tried with Reggie a little bit, but he's not trying to fuck everybody. So, yeah, I just felt that was kind of predictable. I was waiting for it during that sex scene, but it didn't come until way later on. So, yeah, the tall man's still alive, which means there was 2 tall men throughout the movie. There was the one that they killed while they were hanging out with the other one, the Kimmy, right? That was her name? Yeah, Kimmy. And she kills Reggie, but what happened to him? Like, we hear him scream, and then he goes around the side to, like, bang on the glass. He has, like, these cuts on his face, and then he just falls on the ground dead. Like, nothing we saw looked like it was fatal. So, I don't know. That's, like, the 3rd time now that he's died. In these 2 movies alone. And so, yeah, it's the same ending. They're like, it's just a dream. We just gotta wake up. And then tall man pops up. Is like, no, it's not. And they get dragged through the window. Boom, roll credits. So yeah, same ending, same bullshit. Wasn't crazy about that ending, but it was a better 3rd act than the first one. I enjoyed it somewhat. What are your thoughts on this movie? If I had to say my favorite kill, my Mr. Had Award for best kill would go to the sphere in the back in the mouth kill. I like that one. And the worst kill, I guess, would just be Reggie's family, who gets blown up in the house. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Phantasm 2. What are your thoughts? Put them all in the comments below. Explain this movie to me. I would appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like what you've seen, you hit this like button, show all your friends, and look forward to my Phantasm 3 review next Wednesday. I'll see you there. And in the meantime, if you haven't subscribed yet, you can do so just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.